Hey, by a show of hands, how many of you guys have gone trick-or-treating already or going trick-or-treating? All right, some of you guys are going today. Some of you have gone already. Well, I remember a story from when I was in middle school when I was being able to go trick-or-treating for the first time by myself. I wasn't with my parents. I didn't have to go with anyone, so me and my friends were able to go for the first time by ourselves. So we're walking around our neighborhood. We're going trick-or-treating. We're getting a bunch of candy. And so we're just walking around, and we come up to this one house. And we're a little confused because we just see a few scarecrows laying in the ground. And we were like, oh, okay, this isn't creepy at all. And then at the door, there's just a bowl that said, "Take one, please." So we went up to the bowl, and being middle schoolers, we were like, we're not just going to take one. We're going to divide. There were three of us, so we divided the bowl into threes. Each took all the bowls, so there was no candy for anyone else. And we went on our way. So we're walking down the driveway, and all of a sudden, we hear some movement, like on the ground, rustling in the leaves. And all of a sudden, we see three scarecrows chasing us down the driveway. So what do? We throw our candy back at them to try to stop them. We're running, and we run all the way home. And we're literally crying. I'm not kidding you. We're crying. We're scared. It's our first year trick-or-treating by ourselves, and we are terrified. And in that moment, we were like, man, we wish our parents would have came with us because this would have never happened. Crazy. And this story doesn't really have to do with anything today, but I thought it was Halloween. And I just wanted to share something with you guys. But hey, we're going to start out in Romans 12 today, verses 1 and 2. Romans 12, verses 1 and 2. So I beg you, brothers and sisters, because of the great mercy God has shown us, offer your lives as a living sacrifice to him, an offering that is only for God and pleasing to him. Considering what he has done, it is only right that you should worship him in this way. Don't change yourselves to be like the people of this world, but let God change you inside with a new way of thinking. Then you will be able to understand and accept what God wants for you. You will be able to know what is good and pleasing to him and what is perfect. You see, sometimes our biggest tend to be the problems that are more behavioral or situational, but whatever's happening, however we act, however we do things actually comes from the inside. The inside and what we're doing and what's going on in our lives. Sometimes I think if I acted better or changed my habits or was in a different group of friends, in a different relationship, I think my life would be better. And I know you guys right now might be thinking that. It's like, oh, maybe I can go with this group of friends and my life would be better. Maybe I can do this differently and my life would be better. I know going on right now, there's a lot of talk about gender change. And there's a lot of talk about just wanting to be like, not straight or being gay or all these different things going on in the world. We're like, maybe if I change to this and be myself instead, it's going to make me better. But I want to tell you this morning that I don't think that's true. Because I've experienced stuff, and sometimes we look at things and we go through things, but it just doesn't make sense. It seems a little weird. We go from one group to one group, and sometimes it gets worse. We make one change to one change, and sometimes it gets worse because sometimes we make the wrong decisions. You see, what I've learned in my life going through is it's easy to change, but it's hard to adapt to the change. It's easy to say I'm going to change, but it's hard to adapt to the change. But it always ends up being easier to change and adapt to that change when it's worse. But when it's for the better, it's easier to give up and then stop and fall back. You see, maybe Christianity is more about than just making you good. You see, God might be you might have God in your heart, but is he in your head? Is he in your habits? What areas are you not letting God into? Are you opening the doors for God, or are you closing the doors for God? In your life, are you holding back from what God could be doing in your life and changing in your life? Or are you opening the doors and saying, God, come into my life and move through me to help other people, to help my friends, my family, and help me grow more? In Mark 7, Jesus says, the things that make people wrong are the things that come from the inside. All these bad things begin inside a person, in the mind, bad thoughts, sexual sins, stealing, murder, adultery, greed, doing bad things to people, lying, do things that are morally wrong, jealousy, insulting people, proud talking, foolish living, and these evil things come from the inside of a person, and these are the things that make it these are the things that are unacceptable to God. See, as Christians, we should know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. We should know the difference from the darkness and the light. We should know the difference between good and bad. But we know that our culture promotes bad thoughts. See, we're here in JV, we're here on a weekend, we're here on a Sunday or a Saturday or Wednesday, and here all that's promoted is good, and it's easy to come in here and be like, okay, we're here for God, we're all loving God, but when we go into our schools, when we go out into the world, our culture likes to promote the things that are unacceptable to God. Our culture likes to promote the wrong things. So it's so easy for us to go ahead and just fall into those things. You see, what makes us bad is what's in us, but I think that we can take what's in us and make it good through Jesus. I believe that you guys can change, especially where you're at right now. You know, you guys are in middle school. This is a pivotal age for a lot of people. I know I went through a bunch of changes in middle school. I know all of our leaders have gone through stuff, just remembering for you guys right now, this is the best time to start acting in a way where people can see you become more like Jesus. People can see you act a lifestyle that they're going to be like, why are they acting like that? Why aren't they like the rest of the world? I want that. I want to be like that. That becomes a tool. It's a tool to invite people out to church. And you guys, middle school in general, I think is one of the greatest places where you can just outreach, where you can witness and just invite people to come to church through your lifestyle, through doing good, through doing these things. And sometimes as Christians, we forget where our power comes from, but our power comes from God. So that way, when we're going to face things, we don't have to back down. We don't have to feel alone. We don't have to feel like no one's with us because we have God with us and in us, and He can take us from situation to situation and make a change that we've never seen before. God can restore things. God can make miracles. God is a God of miracles, and He loves all of us. And I say this, and Brendan and Darius like to laugh when I say this because I use it a lot, but it's so true to me. It's one of those things that I honestly just live by. You see, if our culture promotes bad thoughts, then we should be promoting the good thoughts. If our culture is promoting sexual sins, then we should be promoting abstinence. Thank you, Brendan. But if our culture promotes stealing, we should promote giving. If our culture promotes murder, then we should promote life-giving. If our culture promotes greed, we should be promoting generosity. If our culture is promoting jealousy, we should be promoting encouragement. If our culture promotes pride, we should be promoting humility. And overall, if our culture is just promoting sin, then we as Christians need to stand up and promote salvation. We need to promote life-changing. We need to be able to say whatever culture is saying, we need to be able to go against that, and we can because we have that power of God in us to be able to go and say, hey, I'm going to leave the bad on the outside and push towards the good and start to save people through the way I act, through the way Jesus is in me, and through the way that I love them. What will make us good is letting the one thing that is good into our hearts, then letting Him lead us and call the shots. And that thing is God. What will make us good is letting God into our hearts and letting Him take the shots. It's easy for us to take the shots. I know I was in a place where high school, I used to party all the time. I was a party animal. I'd go literally on a Friday night through Sunday, I would go and just drink. Do nothing else but drink. And it'd be now I look back at it, I was miserable during those times, but in the moment, I thought it was a good decision because everyone was doing it. I thought it was a good decision because all my friends were doing it. I thought it was a good decision because it was encouraged. But then as I grew up a little bit more, I realized that I can't do that because of the way I want to live my life. I need to be doing something else. I need to be doing better things. I need to get the bad out of me and start living for the good. You see, in John 3:17, it says, "For God did not send His Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through Him." And I'm going to be wrapping up pretty short this morning because we're going to go back into worship in a few moments. So if the worship team wants to make their way up to the stage, we're going to do something different after worship. After worship this morning, we're not going to have like an altar call. We're not going to do anything like that, but we're going to break off into groups in this room for a little bit. Then we'll go into a different room, but we're just going to pray with each other because I believe that in a place where we are right now in JV, it's one of the greatest things ever that we have connect groups. especially for you guys. And when I was your guys' age, I would have loved to have a group of people where I could have just surrounded myself with and learn more about Jesus, because I grew up a Christian, but I had no one to talk to about it. I had no one to grow with about it, and I didn't really know how to go forth with it. But you guys right now have a great resource with leaders here who care about you, who love you more than almost anything, and want to see you grow, want to see you excel, and want to see you make a change in the world. They want to see you go from being bad to being good in your life, letting the bad go and letting the good come in. You see, the world thinks that you better be good before you go to God. But what I've learned in my life, what I've seen is that the true thought is you can't be good until you have God in you. You can't be good until you have God in you. And for me, that was so true, because when I didn't have God in me, it might have seemed like I was doing good, but I would do other stuff to hurt people. In high school, when I was going through drinking and all that stuff, I was a bully in high school. I spread rumors about people. I was mean to people. I did all these things, but then one encounter with God changed everything. You see, there was one day where I decided that maybe life wouldn't be worth living anymore. But then that night, my friend invited me to church. I went to church, and there was that one moment with God that made me set everything aside and keep pursuing my relationship with him. I set everything off to the side. I put all the bad away and started to live for God. And then I saw my life start to change to be good. And I ended up getting accepted into the internship program here. I went through that. And now I'm here where I am today because of God's goodness, his grace, and his faithfulness. The world thinks you have to be better before you go to God. But the truth is, you can't be good until you have God in you.